Welcome to Gallery Watch. I'm Cassie Hart, and this week we have headed to the hills to have a look at what some of the artists of the Darling range have on offer. We start our journey here at the Peachtree Studios, where we have a chat with the director and artist Jeremy Holton. So what are you working on at the moment here?
Well, it's a landscape of the Kimberley, but it's really mainly imaginary. I just started out with a modelling paste and just randomly made lots of marks, my dark marks and light marks. I did it in sort of black and white initially, and I just went crazy, just messed about. And then I've sort of worked into it with colour and glazing. I've glazed in a lot of these areas with to give it depth, and that's where you can see this sort of depths of colour. Very often I do. This is cadmium orange, and I use something like Windsor red as a glaze over the top of it, which gives you a lovely gold colour. And I sort of invent lots of things. I mean, there are all sorts of things occur as I find something interesting, some shape strikes my imagination. I convert it into whatever it looks like. I mean, there's a rabbit down here somewhere. I don't know what a rabbit's doing exactly, but it sort of just appears on its own. I don't really side out a very clear plan. I just let the painting tell me what to do. And that's a lot of artists will tell you that. The painting does tell me what to do. The painting controls it. I don't really control it at all. And I often say, well, I don't know what I'm doing, because I don't. I just paint.
So when did you start painting?
I started. My father was a reasonable amateur artist, and I sort of always knew I could paint, or thought I could paint. But I had a business career in IT and management consulting as a geologist, and I sort of got to a point where I thought if I don't start soon, it'll never happen. I did some night classes, and then eventually went to Claremont School of Art, which was fantastic. A great time there. I was still working, and I gradually sort of worked up, started having exhibitions, and eventually phased out the management consulting and did full-time art, which I've been doing now for at least 15 years.
How many paintings do you think you would have made in that time?
I don't really know. On my website, I have nearly 1,000 images of paintings, and in fact my website's the first one in Australia, first web gallery, and one of the first in the world, because I started in 1995, www.jeremyholton.com. But yeah, I've done a lot of paintings, I guess, over the time.
Can you tell me some tricks of the trade?
Well, one of the things, this is my studio, I like to work outside. I use a mirror up here. A lot of artists use mirrors, so I work backwards and forwards to the mirror the whole time. The mirror turns the image, well, you get a mirror image, so you see it differently. I often work upside down because, again, it destroys you stop seeing the objects and you start seeing the pattern of the painting in an abstract sense. And I walk backwards and forwards. A lot of artists, the further you get away from the painting, the more you can see the overall pattern, especially on a large canvas like this. I listen to talking books the whole time when I'm painting because I get very bored painting, which is strange, but this is this left-hand, right-hand side of the brain thing. Because what's the left-hand side of my brain is doing the painting, that's the theory, the right-hand side gets very bored.
So aside from accessing the website, how can people buy your painting?
I exhibit them at several galleries around WA and sometimes Eastern States and even internationally. So that's one of the main areas in which I sell them. But I also have a small gallery here where I use it mainly as a staging place for paintings. When I finish a painting, it goes in there, and then it goes out to a gallery, and the other ones come in. So they move around the whole time, the paintings from different galleries. But also I sell directly from my gallery here. So
can we go and have a look in your gallery now?
Yes, of course. Yes, come along.
So we have a few landscape images here. Can you tell me about this one?
Right, well, this uses oil pastel, a technique that I actually teach in oil pastel, which is really a lot of fun. It's done on paper. And initially I do a pencil sketch, and then I use a reed pen and ink, which you see these dark marks here. The reed pen is a bit of bamboo stick which is sharpened basically, and you dip it in the ink, it gives you a very crude line, so you can't get a very precious and tight. And then I work in layers of oil pastel. I put lots of oil pastel on, and then I flood it completely with ink, pigmented ink. This is great for teaching because it teaches people to destroy their work, because artists always get very precious, they don't want to touch it, but this way you've got to touch it, you destroy it. Then you let it dry, and with a palette knife you scrape back into it, so you can see areas like this where I've scraped back in. You scrape the ink off, and you scrape some of the oil pastel off, and you get the underlying colour. And then I work back on. You can see I've actually worked back in here with additional oil pastel, additional ink, and I keep working backwards and forwards until I think it's finished.
Do you work in themes or do you work spontaneously?
I work on a series, I call a series of series. I keep coming back to the same styles of paintings. I'm quite well known for my poppy paintings, especially lots of flower paintings, but also have a series, lots of landscapes, vineyard landscapes, done many of those, and landscapes of the hills areas in general. In addition to that, I have a series of what I call a lover series. This is The Love of Flying. This is autobiographical to some extent, this one. I won't go into it too much. And there's a Fat Lady series. I've done a lot of fat ladies. I always have a very large lady and a little man. The lady is often slightly menacing, but also very motherly and also slightly sexy. So she has an odd combination. I have a dancers series. Which is, I guess, pretty self-evident. That's called Harvest Moon Jive. Recently, I've been doing a lot of moonlight paintings, which typically have a landscape, usually a large landscape, often of the hills area, and they have either a path winding in towards the viewer or a river, and that's the broad structure. But they're all different because I work on them. I don't know where they're going to, so they just tell me what to do. I do lots of nude paintings, and often they're very realistic ones like this, which takes a lot of work. In these paintings, I was primarily interested in the pattern rather than the nude. It was the drape which interested me. The nude is really just almost a background to the drape. This one got me into a lot of trouble because it was rejected from an exhibition as being pornographic. And I didn't think it was at all pornographic. It never occurred to me. So I did a poll on my website, and roughly about 80% of people think it's not pornographic, but 20% do. So it's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you work on one series at a time?
No, I tend to. I tend to work on them, maybe two or three paintings in that series, and then I guess I get bored or exasperated with it, and I start doing something when I'm doing it. It becomes a matter of desperation. I only really start liking the painting when they go into an exhibition, when they're framed, and you hang them in a gallery. So
there are probably a number of artists that work up here in the hills. How does everyone collaborate together?
Well, the Mundaring Art Centre is very important in the old post office building in Mundaring. I actually came up to live in Mundaring because there are so many artists here, and it is a big centre for the arts. Around here, the landscape is very much a mixture of houses and bush, and it's a very pretty sort of area, of course. And you'll find our artists dotted everywhere. So in this case, we got together 9 artists and decided we'd open our studios. Some of the studios have galleries with them, some don't, on a weekend, and we've organised that for the end of October, the 30th and 31st of October. That weekend will all be open, and there are 9 artists involved, and there's some really fantastic artists and really interesting stuff to view. It ranges from paintings, realistic sort of paintings, to abstract paintings, and stained glass, jewellery, pottery, ceramics, photography, design, graphics design. So there's a whole lot of interesting things for you to see today, and hopefully people will come up at the end of October and visit us in our studios. They should be able to talk to the artists and see how we work, and look at the paintings, which would be great. Lots of other things up here. I mean, there's the Loose Box, is one of the most famous French restaurants in Australia, and you've got Little Caesars, the pizza place in Mundaring, which people come from hundreds of kilometres to go there. So you can come up and eat some food. There are lots of great pubs around and pub lunches.
So I'm sure lots of people will be wanting to come and have a look at the open studios. How can we find out more information about it all?
Well, the most important document we have is a map, which actually shows you where they all are, so you can get from one to another. This is the map, and it tells you a bit about the artists. We have a website, and all the artists have websites too. And also there's a Google map, so you can go in and look at the Google map and work out your route from that.